What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA, Tuesday's edition with my buddy Zach Noble. You can find him on Twitter at Zach Noble, written right there on the screen. You can find me at Scotty Drown. I am your host here, and we are presented to you by DSM Media. You can give DSM Media a follow on Twitter, or should we call it X now? Is it officially rebranded to X? I see the logo whenever I pull up Twitter on my computer, so I'm wondering.
I haven't upgraded on my phone yet, so
yeah, I haven't updated it, so I imagine the logo is going to change here, which is a little bittersweet for me in a sense. But nonetheless, you can give DSM Media a follow at DSM_media. What we are here to get into today, obviously, Jaylen Brown signed a massive extension earlier in the day today, making him the highest paid NBA athlete of the modern day. That being said, we're going to get into trios. It inspired me, had me thinking, where does this Boston Celtics new trio with Kristaps Porzingis rank amongst the NBA trios that we have on our hands today? So we'll get into top 10 trios, talk a little bit about the contract, and then talk a little bit about Austin Rivers' comments regarding the Dame situation, the Harden situation, and how that's kind of affecting the NBA. So let's dive in right into the Jaylen Brown contract. I want to get your thoughts initially here, Zach. Thoughts on this 5-year extension? Up over $304 million. He becomes the highest paid player in the NBA. There's no player option at the end of this extension. And this is a guy that came in. I want to reference your top 100 players polled through Twitter here, Zach Noble. 28th out of your top 100 players. He ends up being the highest paid player in the NBA as of today. What are your thoughts on this contract and kind of how it changes, or if it does affect the dynamic of the NBA and these super max extensions?
Yeah, man, holy shit is the first reaction. I mean, we all knew it was coming. It was just a matter of days. It was funny how long it took because nothing special happened here. But
yeah,
Shams, the special thing, I shouldn't say that. The special thing, Shams tweeted, I'm trying to find like another report on it because that can just get thrown around, I guess, and I think undertaken. But like it looks like a trade kicker. And I look at a trade kicker as a no trade clause. So I would be shocked if he got a no trade clause here. I mean, especially as the second or third option and a guy that has shown signs, like plenty of rumors about going out the door. And
yeah,
I don't know, but that's why they didn't get the player option. So at least they're going to have to send him to a team he wants, which that's his Bradley Beal situation. So I need to see a second source on that because that would blow my mind. But a couple things is I don't think he's going to ever be worth the contract, but Boston had to do it.
exactly.
I think there's only going to be like 10 guys that are going to be worth that number, if that, maybe probably closer to 5. I truly believe if every team operated this way, I mean, the teams could have the power. But like, my thing is like, who are they competing against here? They're competing against this player that worried about pissing them off. My thing is, if I'm one of these teams, I'd say bring me an offer sheet. It's like
force the hand.
Anytime a player's been matched, we've heard about these offer sheets going out. Mind you, it hasn't been necessarily like the biggest of contracts. Like they've been $80 million contracts, $60 million contracts. We've never seen a max contract get matched. So that just because it's like you don't mess with those players, I guess. But in this situation, I just feel like, why not? Like you're the first team that has to pay a player this amount of money. Why not set the precedent like that? But easier said than done. I'm sure they might have thought about that. If I'm thinking about that, maybe they did.
Maybe that's what took them so long.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. That drives me nuts. I mean, they all know it's a business. If they can, like, how easy would it be just say, go find me a contract? I'm going to match it. I mean, I'd tell Jaylen Brown,
see what your market value
I want
is.
you, bro. I want you. I'm telling you right now to your face, I'm going to sign you for whatever you can go get. So you get a team to get you this exact number and I'll match it. But if not, this is what we're going to offer you. And so, or I just say we'll match the highest offer.
Test the water. You know what I mean? I do get your point, because instantly when I first saw the contract announced on Twitter, obviously, I thought exactly what you said towards the end there, which was let's avoid drama with one of our top players, if not our second best player, right behind Jason Tatum. Let's avoid drama. We see what's going on in Philadelphia when people don't get the money that they want. Mind you, completely different situations. I understand that. But just speaking from like a drama, national media attention perspective, because if they don't do this, then we're going to spend the next season talking about, is Jaylen Brown getting that contract extension from the Boston Celtics? So they avoid that conversation. But to your point, you're overpaying. It's as simple as that. You're overpaying to make Jaylen Brown the highest paid player when he's not even, within your rankings, in other rankings out there in the world, he's not even a top 25 player at this point after this season. Everybody talks about the problems with the left hand, not being able to dribble to his left, whatever the case may be. It is crazy to me that he becomes the highest paid player. And then you mentioned the trade kicker, because I saw that. My mind immediately went to like the James Harden contract, where if the Sixers end up trading James Harden, they have to pay him like an extra $5 million for trading it.
Right.
But it could very well. Trade kicker is just such a general, vague statement. It could be one of the other, right? It could be a no trade clause, which if that's a no trade clause, that is literally the Bradley Beal. That's the Bradley Beal example, or whatever, the similar situation.
I think you're right, though. I think you're right. I'm hoping you're right that it's just an extra
that would make more
$5 million
right?
or something, a bonus. Because trade kicker, I think that makes more sense than kicking out the no trade.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though. I know it, but you never know, man, what these players are demanding, what these players are requesting.
You didn't get the player option, but
like maybe that was the extra step that gets the contract signed. He needed that. Right, like we don't know how those talks went. Ultimately.
Make it harder to trade them for sure. Regardless,
it's wild, man. You know what it makes me think of, though, man? It makes me think of Giannis, who's like due for extension in the next couple of seasons. Like, what does a player like Giannis get in the market, right? From the Bucks, what do they offer him on that Supermax? He could be very well the first player that's getting like $100 million a year, right? Like, where does this cap out?
Yet, but yeah, it will get to that point. I mean, all reports saying I think it'll happen in Giannis's lifetime.
Yeah, he's that. I mean, he's worth it though at that point, right? Like he's the top. He's those 5 players that you mentioned at the beginning. He's one of those 5 that does deserve that.
Right. My thing is, it just the casual fan, my dad, for instance, or like the older casual fans that grew up with contracts like in the single digits for millions, and they look at these, they stepped away from the game, and then they see these contracts going from a Mike Conley max of like 140 now to the 305 million of Jaylen Brown, and they're like, who are these guys? Like a lot of people. Jaylen Brown's not a guy every casual fan knows. I guarantee that. Like, he's just not a guy that if you went to somebody on the street that says they can name Giannis, LeBron, Jokic probably, and then you asked him who Jaylen Brown, I truly believe that. Like,
I do too.
Would you agree to that statement?
Yeah, his name is not. It's not on the tier of the superstars.
Exactly. So my thing is, they're seeing these contracts, and then they see these guys making 60 million plus, and these numbers are just getting so outlandish. Like, it turns them away, on top of the personalities that come with that. And then it definitely, the more money comes, the less it seems to become about the game, because more and more teams are being forced to pay these guys. Where I'd personally rather we're in a world where, yes, it's top heavy right now, but like it's this new CBA, it's like the top third. I'd rather see it be like a 1% system and have a big ass middle class. And I could get some hate for that. But like, I just truly think in the sports world, this doesn't reflect how I look at things outside of the sports world. We're
Yeah.
not going to go there today, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I truly believe, like I said, only 5 guys necessarily deserve this contract, but it just right now it's setting up where all these guys that should be making 10 to 20 million are going to get paid pennies. So they're going to
Yeah.
get paid 2-3 million,
Yep.
the minimum, and 4 or 5. So it's really going to squeeze out the guys that actually need these extra millions or that
Yeah.
could use them, to level up a little bit and to get that more generational wealth, which they're striving for, versus guys that just piling on more and more money, that
So
I mean,
true.
I don't necessarily think deserve it, in the grand scheme. But yes, the Boston Celtics absolutely had to do this deal. Um, would you have rather had Dame at like his number for a couple more years at like 50 million than Jaylen Brown? Because I think that would have been an option.
Yeah.
If they would have been proactive before Dame just boxed it down to Miami, I think
Yeah.
there was a chance that they could have got something done. Um, and the way this thing is prolonged, I would have personally give me
Yeah.
Dame for a
Yeah.
lesser dollar amount, and then you're not worrying about the cap issues coming up, and maybe even like Anthony Davis down the road here. Maybe that's something that opens up
Yeah.
for the Celtics,
Yeah.
at a $20 million lesser number. But there's going to be options for him. It's just Jaylen Brown's got to be able to perform in the playoffs, and he's got to be able to, because that expectations go up.
If you, and this is completely hypothetical question, and to answer your question about Dame versus Jaylen Brown, yeah, I think Dame, when you look at it, not only is Dame most likely a better player than Jaylen Brown. Now, you can argue how long that will last with Dame's age versus Jaylen Brown's, but it's a better fit. I think the argument that we've seen over the last couple of years is the overlapping skill sets of Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and that's the problem, right? Like, how long after this extension are you giving these two to get a championship for Boston? Like, how long does this last? Does he last that entire extension, right? Like, obviously, we don't know what the trade situation is, but that's a question to be asked. Let me ask you this. Obviously, I don't think the Celtics would ever do the Sixers any favors. I don't think that this would ever be a thing. But James Harden on the Celtics versus Jaylen Brown on the Celtics, like, what is the better fit? Like, you can argue that Jaylen Brown may be a better player by the end of next season than James Harden holistically. But as far as fit, what guys do for their teams, it almost feels to me like the Celtics are missing a prototypical
James
point
Harden's
guard.
one. He's better than Jaylen Brown. Yeah, like
He is better than, yeah, I would agree there as well. So would you rather, like, if you're the Celtics, would you rather have James Harden at his age than say a Jaylen Brown as you try to go for
yeah,
this
no,
championship ring?
yeah. So one, Jaylen Brown isn't tradable for a while.
Right.
I know that's not a word, but I love saying it, tradable.
I use
But
that word too.
oh, fuck your speech. Um,
Thanks.
but yes, I mean, if this would have happened before, I'm also more of a James Harden proponent than most. So
Yeah.
age comes into play. No, if you tell me long term, I got Jaylen Brown. If I don't know the internal relationship, I think it's stronger than most do. I think
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown actually wants to be there and likes it there.
Yeah.
Yes, I still want Jaylen Brown on the Celtics over James Harden, but depending on how the season started, we got to the midway point this year, or another playoffs goes by and it's another second or conference finals exit, and James
Yeah.
Harden has a great year. Yeah, I'd rather have James Harden at a discount. Absolutely, depending
Yeah.
on how everything
Half the
looks.
price.
But no, I mean, James Harden's the better player and fit in both Philly and Boston for
Yeah.
1 year. That's
Yeah.
all I'm going to say.
Fair. And that's basically what I was asking. So fair enough, man. You mentioned about you would love to just see a larger middle class section of the NBA. And I thought that was interesting coming off of Austin Rivers' comments regarding the Ben situation, the James Harden situation. He touched on the Dame situation the most. But he said that these situations are ultimately ruining the NBA. But then also on top of these situations where these players want to go to all the same markets, right? Miami, LA, Phoenix, you can throw in there as well these days. These are all places where players want to be, and they pinpoint these destinations in their trade demands. But what you're seeing is the top, 5% or maybe even top 1% is getting most of the money in the NBA. And then you've even seen it trickle down into this offseason where guys like Kelly Oubre, mind you, I'm not the highest on Kelly Oubre. He averaged 20 points per game last year.
Right.
And he can't get a contract at this point in the offseason. That's very odd to me. But then you've seen guys like Eric Gordon, right? He's a little bit older, but he's taking a vet minimum to join the Phoenix Suns, right? Like he could get more than that.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you're seeing these middle level players having to take the bottom tier contracts while these other guys are just getting 50,
like Russell
60,
Westbrook
70
deserves
million.
more than $4 million a year.
Right. So like this stuff isn't making sense and it just doesn't seem fair. And to that point, do you feel like this is ruining the NBA, just like the total player control that ultimately got them to this new CBA agreement?
Man, it's
a loaded question.
No, yeah, it's because it's a huge web to untangle. We could go down a deep dark hole, and my answer to Austin, my question to Austin is like expand on this in general. Like, how is it ruining the league because these teams that are stacked, these players, it usually doesn't work out recently. It hasn't been working out since KD and the Warriors. So how is it ruining the league? And I mean, loyalty's gone out the door in general. And James spoke on this. I know we want to touch on this too. So tie in James' comments here. It's like, it works both ways. It's a business, but like the only thought I really have on this is like, why not think about like if you get into the Bradley Beal situation, okay, and instead of having to give up a bunch of just garbage to match the trade and like where it's not, you're not making anything in return and you want to actually dump this dude's salary, why not have a clause if this player really wants out? I highly doubt this was negotiated, but I think this would have been a great negotiating tactic. Like if you get to a point where the player's done with that franchise and you don't think you can get anything in return to a team that dude wants, say the contract's avoid and he becomes a free agent.
Yeah, void the contract.
And why not? Like, make him hit waivers and see what the motherfucker can get. And it could help or hurt. But like, I think it works great for both because one, it takes out the stress financially and mentally within the locker room and whatnot. But it really puts the pressure back on the player because there's a chance that team you want to go to can't afford to pay you.
Yeah.
So you really got to think about what you're trying to do before you do it. And then you honor the contract a little more. I mean, that's my only solution there. But other than that, it's like, I don't think it's really hurt anybody. I mean, trades are trades. Like the Jazz got rid of Rudy Gobert and he was been completely fine staying in Utah. I truly believe that. I wish he would have, but, it is what it is. And like you guys, for instance, I mean, you guys yes, it sucked having Ben stick around. Like, just think if you could get rid of that contract. Just have it come like off at the same time, good thing you didn't because you got James Harden and you had, I truly think one of the best teams you've had in the NBA era, if not the best team. The problem is this contract situation with Harden came crumbling down. And so it also sucks that you can't just continue to work on a deal continuously. Like this Harden situation right now, I think it could just be resolved by just
I'm glad you brought that
working on the contract. Like, so rules like this, it's like, it's really fickle. It's tough.
What is that there for? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
for him to opt in and not have any options after opting in, like he can't negotiate extension, nothing.
It's rules to me because the only thing that was coming to my mind was the actual salary cap. But regardless, you can only have so much money and you can offer the contract or you can't, and they can still offer like say if that rule wasn't in place, the money is the exact same for James Harden the Sixers could offer now than it was before. So
Exactly.
that's what I'm getting at here.
Exactly.
But yeah, I hate that rule
If
because
you could do that, they could solve this right now. Daryl Morey would probably just give him a little bit more money to satisfy him, right? To get this
I
stress off the
guarantee
table.
both parties could agree on something right
Yeah.
now. I'd be shocked if they couldn't.
Yeah.
But like people ask why. One thing I've been seeing a lot recently by Philly fans is why did Harden opt into that? Well, one, he's not a dumb fuck. Yeah, if he wouldn't have opted into that, the team he wants to go to probably couldn't have paid him
Yeah.
the money he wanted. So he realized where his options were, which is a shitty situation.
Yeah.
It's just the way the market, like there wasn't a lot of teams with cap space, and the teams with cap space didn't want him. And he already turned down Houston, so the Houston dried up. Yeah, he had to opt in order to
Rough,
make,
man.
or else he probably would have been in a Russell Westbrook situation. And this dude, like, yeah, it's
Better
crazy.
than Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
We know that. Like, come on. It is crazy, man, because there is a balance. And once again, I just find myself in the middle because I love James Harden's persona. Like, I do love the way, like, I get it. He's a party animal, and I give him props for being able to party the way he does. But none of that stuff, like, bothers me. It's like that the off the court stuff doesn't bother me. It's just, why can't it work? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just stuck in the middle because I
It
feel
would drive
like
me nuts too, man. It
it
really
is.
would.
It
And it
drives
does
me
drive
nuts.
me nuts because
And
I want him and Embiid to be together. And I just
you've
love,
seen me play both sides as well.
yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
I'm confused. Like, I don't even know where to put my beliefs.
And I've always said I'm
You've told me
not
several
making a firm
times.
statement until I know the actual contract details that were being thrown around. And it's crazy nothing's leaked. It's really
Yeah.
crazy because
So much is leaked, but so much is not leaked at the
right.
same
Like for
time.
instance, Nas Reed, it just got leaked that he was offered the Max Strus contract in Cleveland and he
Interesting.
turned it down, a lesser deal to stay in Minnesota. So people want to stay, baby.
Yeah, hey, you gotta love that.
That's great.
Hey,
We're
man,
not just cold here, people. We're not just
let's dig into these top 3 or top 10, excuse me, top 10 trios. So three players from each team, and we want to see what the top trios are in the NBA. And every player that we've talked about could be mentioned as part of a said trio in these top 10, man. Do we want to just start with at 10 again, like we kind of did last week with our top 10 young cores? Just kind of go back and forth from 10 down.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is a really tough exercise because it's hard to focus strictly on the trio versus the team, and I thought I did pretty well at that. And I do mean this, but like you do have to weigh the team around them a little bit, but that's you can't. I mean, we're doing trios.
I know.
I mean, it matters because it helps the growth of these guys, and that's about it. But like,
look, I'm interested, and we're gonna find out as we go down the list here. I'm interested in how you feel about Minnesota, because when you look at a trio, they have 3 very good players, if not great players, right? Ant Edwards is a great player. Rudy Gobert has had his days. Cat's obviously a pretty good player as well. So it's like you can include them in the trio, and while they might not even fit together perfectly, they still are a top level talent as far as three people on one team, right?
Right.
So that those are the teams that are interesting to me. To your point,
before we get started, let me ask you this: Who does any team right now have a threesome that you don't believe in that can be anything, like can't be more than this year? So for me, I'll tell you, Washington, one of the worst trios of all time. They're number 30 for me. Kuz, Poole, and Kispert. Brooklyn, like McHale is really good, one, and then the other 2 are really tough. Claxton's decent, and Dinwiddie, I think Claxton can be a decent third wheel if he had a great number 2, but Dinwiddie ruins that. And then outside of that, honestly, you could talk me into a trio from every single team. Maybe Utah just doesn't have enough ceiling, and Laurie, Sexton, Kessler, have them at 23. But literally everyone else, I mean, if the pieces around him worked up, like I could believe in it.
I feel like Brooklyn. I feel like I would put Cam Johnson in their big three. Did you already have him penciled in?
So Cam Johnson, his ceiling's way higher than Claxton and Dinwiddie, but
A
I
day-to-day
think
player
Dinwiddie and Claxton are better players at the moment.
can do more for the team. I think that's fair. I
You,
don't know. Talking about a
it's close.
team, so like 3 players that may not be together. I mean, I'll tell you one off the top of my head. I mean, obviously the Sixers trio, that one may be separated before this season even starts.
Yeah, so
The rumors about Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, man. Those rumors have came out recently that the Cavs should try to trade him because he will not extend in Cleveland. I thought that was interesting because they have a top-level trio.
I'm excited to see if you have either of those in your top 10.
Yeah, I actually do. So just to give you a precursor, I do.
There we go.
Yeah, let's dig into it. We can talk about it on the way here. I'll give you my number 10 off top here. I actually have the Memphis Grizzlies.
Wow.
So I have the trio of Ja Morant, which I also referenced your top 100 list here just to kind of intertwine it into our conversation. So Ja Morant is the first part of that trio. He was your number 21st ranked player out of 100. I have Desmond Bane obviously on there. He was number 47 on your list. And then Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., number 31 on your list. That would be my number 10 trio in the NBA right now.
So personally, like, it's crazy where you have them and where I have them. Like,
yeah,
full disclosure, they're 12 for me. They didn't even make my list.
12.
Which was really hard for me to do. Like, the main reason why is Ja's missing a bunch of games. Their injuries play a factor for Ja and Jaren. Like, you're gonna notice my list is a lot to do with injuries, and it's not like upside doesn't really matter in this exercise to me because I'm going by best at the moment. Okay,
that's fair.
On
You're gonna
paper,
hate
on this, at the moment, because like I think it's more factual, and just like you're going,
that's
like
fair.
the player rankings didn't have anything to do with potential.
Yeah.
So those guys, I mean, yes, they've made the second round. I mean, they've made deep playoff runs. They've done great things, and they're loaded. But like those 3 guys, like injury concerns for me, and I think Bane's super underrated. And if you go by like the player rankings, they might have the 3 highest player rankings of anybody in this. I mean, I'd have to narrow that down. But anyways, my number 10, I got Minnesota.
Okay.
And Rudy's the one weighing that down. For me, it's really the third wheel in Rudy and the fit between him and Cat. I just don't think it's going to last too long. I think we're going to have to trade one or the other coming up here. And so that I played that factor in. Like, I will say this, their upside and talent level, just the 3 of them, like I could put them way higher on this. Like, they're definitely better than my number 9 team. But like, they got to put it together. They got to prove they can win together. And so from what I've seen, this is where I thought they'd fit.
Yeah, because it's like, how do you calculate the fit of the 3 players into the equation of how talented
it matters a lot to me,
right?
Yeah,
it does matter. Just for a frame of reference, I had the T-Wolves at number 11, so honorable mention there. But
all right.
So I agree. But
Minnesota, just right.
I'll be honest, man. I thought about putting them on the list, and there was a point in my mind where I crossed like, should I make Jaden McDaniels the third wheel there? Like, I think that guy has a ton of potential. But to your point, it's not about potential; it's about where these players are at right now. But yeah, they come in at number 11 for me.
Give me Jaden over Gobert probably by the end of next year.
Yeah,
I think Jaden could pass him this year, which is crazy to think. Like,
where did Jaden come in your top 100? I know he made it.
So it was like 80.
Yeah, which would
Minnesota fans, of course, had every team loves
82.
their players more, but I thought it was a fair ranking.
Yeah,
82.
Austin Reeves, is he better than Austin Reeves?
That's a huge debate, I think.
That's a conversation for another day.
Like Kevin Porter Jr. is the one at 78, like that could drop a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Jaden McDaniels next year could crack the top 45. That's how much I believe in
so
him.
you can double up his ranking, man. I'm not going to take that away from you. I mean, he's just the prototypical wing that you look for in the NBA. I mean, just ridiculous length, obviously defensive instincts, but he can score the ball too. He's athletic. I can't knock you for thinking that, because they're going to need him to step up too. They need somebody else to step up in that rotation with those guys. So
for sure. How about Rudy dropping 32 spots?
Yeah, no, I feel
insane.
it. Number 9, man. Number 9 for me. You're gonna hate it. I'm gonna let you know now, because this is it involves a guy that didn't even make your top 100, and I understand why. It is the New Orleans Pelicans, and
I knew they were coming in here at some point. I knew it, but like I said, this is injuries.
I know, but when Zion is playing, he is a top 25 talent in the NBA. It's just that big ass question of if and when he is playing. So to your point, it may not be the fairest in that regard as far as rankings, but I did go with Zion, CJ McCollum, who came in 52nd in your rankings, and then Brandon Ingram, who was number 37 in the rankings. Obviously, the big question is the if when it comes to Zion. The other two have proved their marks in the playoffs. They proved their marks throughout the regular season, that they're top quality players. It does just come down to Zion staying healthy. Not only healthy, but just having his mind on straight. But to your point about Jaren Jackson Jr., same thing can be said for Zion. So completely understandable if you keep them off your list. I just tend to have a soft spot for the greatest Dookie that has come around in a while. I still believe in Zion, and that ultimately gets them number 9 on my rank. I love the Pelicans, man. If you haven't been able to tell over the last 2 weeks of shows, I love the Pelicans. I love what they could be if Zion just plays the goddamn sport. Like, I love the idea of the Pelicans, but to your point, and to be fair, that is just it. It's an idea, and not necessarily factual as of right now. But I am going to go with the Pelicans at number 9, man.
I think the only thing they're missing, besides health, if everybody reached their full potential, is really a defensive center.
Yeah.
And they got rid of Jackson Hayes. So
not that.
I think they got to figure that part out. But I think CJ could be enough at the point guard spot. And then Dyson Daniels should be able to handle some of that. But you could argue Larry Nance and Herb's not going small ball 5 there. But anyways, I had the Pelicans at 16. So just
that's fair
reference.
I think that's fair from you, because you are a guy that like lives and breathes by that availability, and I think it's fair. It's something I'm coming around to. I'm starting to understand.
No, it is what it is.
Just been me dealing with Embiid for the last couple seasons, where I'm just like, I'm giving everybody a little bit of leeway when it comes to injuries. But to your point, I think that's fair where you have them at 16 compared to the rest. Would your big 3 be Zion, CJ, and Brandon, or are you counting Zion out of that equation?
No, of course I got to count Zion. Okay, are you taking, like, gun to your head, whoever has the best career from here forward? Are you taking Zion, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cat, or Bam?
Zion, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cat, or Bam? Gun to my head. Because what? Bam has had
I'm going Bam 1.
Yeah. And he's
still probably going to go Cat 2.
I would probably go with Bam. I'm
going to take Zion still over Jaren Jackson Jr. That's about it.
They deal with similar. They have issues, right? They both have issues. Zion's the better talent. Jaren Jackson Jr. Deals with injuries. He deals with the foul trouble. Zion deals with injuries, off the court issues, obviously. I think Bam is probably your safest bet, just because of what he provides. I just don't see that declining anytime soon. So I think he's going to have a really good career. Cat, talent-wise, man, coming out, he's probably, I don't want to say he's up there with like the hype of Zion, but he does. Yeah. Like he has the talent, like the skill set is there for Cat, right?
Yeah. It's mentality for him.
it's mentality, and it's the same thing for Zion. So yeah, I think it's fair that you could put Cat over him right now. Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
I think I would. You know, the Dookie in me wants to say Zion
Yeah.
has the highest ceiling. If he stays on the court, he would be the best player, but we haven't seen proof that he can do that yet. So to that point, I would probably go Bam based off career success so far, what he provides, and then Cat is that next. He's still up there as far as talent with Zion, maybe even a little more talented than Bam, but doesn't have yet the mindset just yet, which you can develop it at a certain point, you hope. That's an interesting question, man. You might need to, I don't know if you've done a poll on that or not.
I probably will throw that one out.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, I would say. What's your number 9, man?
No, it's 9. Oh shit, we didn't even do 9. Miami. So for me, it's Hero that's holding these guys down. If Dame goes here, for instance, that would lift them probably to number 4. I put them at 4 with Dame.
I'm interested to see your top 3 then. Yeah, because I would say maybe even top 3 for me. And mind you, Hero holds the Heat back for me so much that they're not even in my top 10.
Fair.
Because I had a hard time deciding who would even be that third wheel. Precursor, same thing with the Lakers, man. I just had a hard time figuring out what that third wheel was.
It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. All right, I love it. All right, who's your 9?
But number 8,
New Orleans. Okay, number 8.
Yeah, New Orleans was number 9. Number 8 for me was actually the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley for the top 3 players there. Looks like Mitchell was number 15th on your list, number 35 for Garland, and number 48 for Mobley. So 3 top 50 players there from your top 100 player rankings. But yeah, I think this is one of those where we're still figuring out the fit, if it's a good fit, if it's a perfect fit. But the skill level, the talent is there for these 3 easily. And you have Mobley that provides like that defensive aspect. I still don't love like the 2 small guard setting when it comes to playoffs, but when you're talking about talent level, these guys are up there.
I think it works with Mobley, Okoro, and Jared Allen.
Yeah,
and then they
make up for the defense.
Trying to think who the other. They got Max Strus, who I believe in his defense, and then
George Niang.
One other wing that can defend. Shit.
I don't know about that.
I think they're more than. I think they're more than loaded.
Yeah. Georges Niang off the bench.
Yeah, I'm not believing in that guy's perimeter D, bro.
Right. No. He can shoot it, but I don't know about the defensive side.
Yeah. So tell me this. Donovan Mitchell at 15. Do you think that's his peak for like player rankings, or you think him and I think Mobley can get in the top 20 at some point. I don't know if he ever will, but I think Mitchell, I believe in him, but like to me, like I don't think he gets any better as a player. It just comes down to like moments. Intelligence and just playoff performance, honestly. Yeah. So if he performs in the playoffs, he can get in the top 10 probably.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It does come down to playoffs because you look at the guys that are ahead of him. I mean, aside from maybe Joel Embiid, everybody else ahead of him has had those huge moments in the playoffs. Well, SGA probably not, but SGA is just a hell of a talent. He does a little.
Are you telling me you have OKC up here?
No, I do not have OKC on my list. No, not at all. No. Donovan Mitchell. I think he could get higher than 15. I think he could peak higher than that. But it's going to take him going to the next level in the playoffs, which is really, really hard to do when you're in that superstar-esque stage. So I wouldn't count on it, but yeah, he could get above guys like SGA, Jamal Murray. I mean, it would be tough given what Jamal Murray just did. Anthony Davis. I mean, it's the defensive side of the ball that worries me with Donovan Mitchell and how much better of a player he can get, right? That would be where he would be lacking. Playmaking, he's a decent playmaker. Obviously can score the lights out, but yeah, Garland, like, because you asked about Garland last episode, and it's like, how much better can he get? Can he get top 25, right? Like, what? He's 35 right now, so we would have to move 10 spots.
And I mean, he's up higher when he he just got to play more games. He didn't play enough
Yeah.
games, I think.
Because Brunson's 25 right now. So do I think Garland could play at a Brunson level? Yeah, I do think that.
For sure.
If not better. But Evan Mobley, yeah, I agree with him. His defensive instincts, and if he can just get, better shooting percentages, just get more organized on offense, I guess you could say. Yeah, he could be a top 20 player easily. But yeah, I think that speaks to this team and their trio that they have going there right now. Anytime you can argue that any one of the three could end up a top 25 player, that's going to be pretty good rankings there. So we're Cavs number 8 for you.
Yep. So
Yeah.
number 7, I got Golden State.
Okay.
Clay and Draymond fell a lot.
Yeah.
I even thought about putting Wiggins as the third, but that just would feel uncomfortable. So
I feel that.
Steph is the reason why they are where they are. I don't see them getting higher than this, honestly. I just see Wiggins maybe coming in and taking over one of the three. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be pretty surprised if you got them much higher than this.
Yeah, I do have them on my list. They're not number 7, so I'll precursor with that. I actually have the Clippers here. So I have Kawhi, PG, and then Russell Westbrook, if you want to throw him in the big three. Whoever you would want to throw in there as that third piece there for the Clippers. So I went with Russell Westbrook. He came in 75 on your top 100. PG, number 23. Kawhi, number 16. So you have 2 top 25s, and then Russ at 75 there. But nonetheless, I like the Clippers, man. To your point, kind of about availability, playoffs. Why haven't we seen them play together yet? Like that's the biggest thing for me. We have not seen this team hit anything close to their peak, I feel, which is ultimately what drops them for me in a sense. But you talk about the 2 top players on the trio. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So Clippers come in at 7 for me, but
no, if they're healthy, man. If they're healthy, they're clear number 1,
right? They're number 1, right? Yeah, okay. Like, so I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not crazy.
If they're I have them number 11, and I mean, if they're at their ceiling, or if you put Harden in for Westbrook, and they're all at their ceiling, they're clearly number 1 for me. But they're not. So the facts is they can't stay on the court.
Fair enough.
And 11 I felt was generous, but I had the Lakers at 6.
Okay. So the Lakers came in at number 12 for me.
You didn't have them, but
I did not have them on the top 10.
Austin Reeves was my number 3.
Austin Reeves, man. Yeah, that is a good pick, man. Austin Reeves slipped my mind in that trio. I'm trying to rethink here. Do I put him over the Grizzlies? Probably with Austin Reeves. Because AD, obviously, his peak is ridiculous. You're talking about LeBron, arguably the greatest player of all time. I think part of me was like, can LeBron be that guy at next season, right? Because he slowed down a little bit. He didn't slow down a lot. I'm not trying to say LeBron is over the hill by any means, but slowed down for his standard. And maybe I took that into account a little bit too much. But they did come in at number 12.
Dude, I think it's fair. Like, I'm not firm on the Lakers being here, but I feel very good about it.
Yeah. Austin Reeves adds another part of the equation because he is a very good quality player, which I think, where did he come in? He came in like right ahead of
81.
Jaden McDaniels.
So,
yeah.
Here'd be my Lakers question for you. He came in at 81.
Yeah.
And would you rather have Austin Reeves, Kevin Porter Jr., RJ Barrett, or Westbrook for this next year?
Kevin Porter Jr., Austin Reeves, RJ Barrett, or Russell Westbrook?
I like the current ranking of Austin Reeves at 81 right now, but like, give me Austin Reeves over all the guys in front of him up until like 71, where Marcus Smart's 71. Like, I'll take Austin Reeves. Devin Vassell, I'm probably still taking.
Devin Vassell, he's nice, man. I like him.
Dude, he's polished too. He's getting there. His defense, and he's gonna just have every opportunity in the world where Austin Reeves. I mean, still got to
Yeah.
fit in with everybody else.
Yeah. Because, like, what does Austin Reeves look like with an even more expanded role? Which I was surprised how expanded his role got with LA. But if you don't have a LeBron there where the skill sets kind of overlap, it's not like it's not like a
As a
bad
Duke
fit or
guy, that
anything.
RJ Barrett take's got to be kind of hot.
The RJ Barrett, yeah, because I'm thinking about RJ. He's been somewhat of a disappointment since getting drafted, right? Like, and I don't know. I think the world of him. I think he can become a great player. He's got to get
I'm
that
not out
shot
on him.
more
I'm
consistent.
not
But
out on him, but
around LeBron, Austin Reeves all day, just for the shooting aspect, right? He's better playmaker too. I mean, in
right.
reality,
No,
he can
defense is
probably
the
better
only
at
thing
getting
in
his shot.
question. And like, I like RJ's defense, but like, I think last year, I think Austin Reeves probably passed him on that end too.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I mean, yeah,
Whew.
definitely Austin Reeves over Russell Westbrook. Definitely fit wise over RJ Barrett, although I do like RJ Barrett to be a better player in the future, if that makes sense. Yeah, and Kevin Porter Jr., he's just such a wild card. I'd rather just have Austin Reeves, honestly. Somebody who's even keeled, looks like he's built for the moment. Like I'd rather just have Austin Reeves. He's playoff tested too. I think that's another
Right.
big key component for him. But yeah, no, Austin Reeves, that makes a good case for the Lakers top 10. I will say that. Number 6 for me, man. It's going to be my Philadelphia 76ers. And I think part of that comes into the equation of thinking Harden's about one foot out the door, right? But you talk about this Sixers trio, and I'm including Maxey in that trio with him, not
Of
Tobias
course.
Harris, of course.
Dude, come on.
Embiid comes in. I know, but some people might think that's crazy. The casual
All right.
basketball fan might think that's crazy, but I know you're on the same page given where they ranked for you. Maxey coming in at number 49, Embiid number 4, and Harden number 18. This is in mind that Harden, do I think that James Harden could be better than what he was last season? I'm not sure of that. I don't really think he could be better than what he was last season. I think he could be as good as he was last season, right? I think he can have those high moments like he's had
Outside
in
of
the
the last
playoffs.
15 games
Yeah. Yeah,
of the
exactly.
regular season. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'm weighing that in, but you talk about this trio this past season, they were a
They
top
might have
5
been number
trio for
2.
me easily.
They might have
Yeah.
been number 2. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Top 3, you could
Harden
say.
was all in, I'd probably still have him number 2.
Yeah. Top three, I would say for last season easily. But Sixers come in here, number 6 for me. Need to see more from Embiid. He's number 4 in your rankings. And as I mentioned, of the guys in like that top 15, it's maybe him and SGA that have really just not proven their standing in the playoffs yet.
So
And that's a crazy thing to think about.
No, I'm glad you've been firm on that too. And so I am okay with Joel Embiid at 4 on these player rankings, but
Yeah.
me personally, I do have Luka ahead of him. I do
Yeah.
have Tatum ahead of him. So Embiid in my rankings is number 6.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Yeah, because you're weighing playoff success versus their performance on a day-to-day basis.
I've
right?
weighed playoffs very heavily.
Yeah.
And just being able to be valuable and make other players around you better. That's all important. Or those other guys I believe in.
The season was eye-opening, man, from an Embiid standpoint. It was to see Jokic and what he was able to do, and you as a Sixers fan going head-to-head with Nuggets fans, comparing these guys back-to-back, or head-to-head, I guess you could say. They separated them. Jokic separated himself. It's hard for me to get this out. It's choking me up. Jokic separated himself from Embiid so far in my mind that from 1 to 6, it would be a gap of 1 to 6. Like that is the gap that he's established in my mind because Jokic just makes his teammates so much better. And it's something I was catching on to throughout the regular season, even versus a guy like Giannis, who also makes his team much, much better. Embiid is so narrow focus, right? Like it feels narrow focus. It's like I gotta score the rock. I gotta be Superman. I need to score 40 points. But if my other guys don't get in the rhythm, it's not that big a deal. It comes down to me, and it's just not how basketball works, obviously.
For sure. And even when it comes down to Giannis, like the only reason why he's in it, I mean, is because of his all-around game. And defense. I mean, but offensively, there's a big gap between him and Jokic. I truly believe that. But
I agree with you.
take last question on Philly. Take Harden off this. So you got Embiid, Maxey, and let's say it is Tobias. Do they drop out of your top 10? Because for me, I'll tell you, they would go probably down to 10-ish, 10 to 12, 10 to 13-ish.
Yeah, because I'm looking at my runners up here. So like the T-Wolves, the Lakers, and if you sub Tobias in for Harden, yeah, I think they would probably fall down to about 13 for me, just off the top of my head. Because I would include the Heat as well with Tyler Hero and Bam and Jimmy. I would include them over that group as well. So yeah, I think I would have to. The only one I'm questionable on is the Pelicans at 9, and that was just a heartfelt selection. So that would be one that maybe they could stay above the Pelicans, but maybe move the Pelicans down a little bit. But
all right,
no,
number
with
5.
Harden, they're top 6 for me. Without them, they're out of the top 10. Yeah, I would agree to that.
Cool. Number 5, who you got?
Number 5 for me is the Warriors. Out of respect, they just won a championship the year before last. Now, mind you, Jordan Poole was a big part of that, and I'm curious to your thoughts. Like, if this was last offseason we were doing these rankings, would Jordan Poole be in that top 3 rather than, say, a Klay? Because Klay obviously didn't really play that much that season. But would Jordan Poole have been in the trio for the Warriors rather than Klay?
It would have been Wiggins over Klay
Wiggins.
because,
Fair.
like, in my rankings, why Zion's not on there is because he didn't play enough games. It's Cunningham wasn't on there, and so every year, a couple guys that only played 20-ish games or 30, and they didn't do enough to get on there. And it's just so hard because it's more factual this way. It's just easy enough to leave these guys off.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Games played, caveat. But yeah, that's probably the highest I could see Golden State at 5. So I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
For me,
Carried by Steph. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Very
carried.
Very carried. I got Boston at 5.
Okay.
And Tatum, Brown. So a top 5 guy, a top 25 guy, in my opinion. And then Kristaps coming in here. What did I have him at, like 43 or something in the
44.
rankings?
Yep.
No, 44 to be exact. And
yeah,
jumped 23. This is highest he's ever been ranked, which is nuts. Actually, I don't know. Probably a couple years ago when he made the All-Star game, maybe, but doubtful because this is the best Kristaps has ever been, in my estimation. And if everybody plays as to their highest level and they play great in the playoffs, this team, they could have the best trio for sure. I'm not ruling Boston out of having the best trio. This team can win. They can contend for a long time. Yeah, they're fully legit, and they're number 4 if once Harden leaves. So, mind you at that.
Gotcha. Okay,
I have Philly at 4.
Okay. So you got Philly at 4 and Boston at 5. Okay, so number 4 for me, I actually have the Bucks. So Giannis, Middleton, Drew. Middleton obviously didn't play too much last season. He came in at number 40 on your list. Number 33 was Drew. Number 2, Giannis. Ultimately, I'm just banking on the chemistry these guys have together. What I thought of the Bucks before all these injuries and everything fell apart for them in the postseason. I thought the Bucks were going to win the NBA championship last year. That was my take from the beginning of the season. Everything I saw throughout the season told me that the Bucks were going to win the championship. Giannis gets injured. It kind of just throws off everything with that team. Obviously, Middleton in and out of the lineup. That didn't help. Drew Holiday, he's still playing really good basketball. Maybe not up to the level he was during their championship run, but still a really top quality point guard there. But Giannis, once again, carrying the group. Giannis, that do-it-all player, he's that good that he pulls them up to number 4 for me. But got to see Middleton bounce back. I will say that. Thought about putting Brook Lopez in the top 3 just in respect to what he did last season versus Chris Middleton. But I still went with the old standing vet and Chris Middleton in the trio there for the Bucks.
So I did too. not leaving. Middleton did enough and had some decent moments in the
Yeah.
playoffs. And Drew, I mean, took a step back last year. Overall, he wasn't nearly as good in the playoffs, in my opinion. But I expect him and Middleton to bounce back this year, and I think they could finish number one again, and I believe they can win this thing again. But I got Milwaukee at 3.
Okay.
Obviously, the second and third options can be debated compared to other teams. You could even debate all the way down to like 11 for me with the Clippers, Memphis, even Jaren and Bane. You could argue those guys are better, but ultimately, I got the Bucks at 3. Giannis holding down the fort. And so, who did you have at number 3?
Yes, so number 3 is going to be the Boston Celtics. Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. You touched on them. I think I agree with you overall. Like when they're at their best, they could be top 3, top 2, maybe even number 1 as far as trios if they can stay healthy. If Kristaps specifically can stay healthy again this year, play at that level again beside these two players. Honestly, from a talent level, you could argue that they're the best trio in the NBA. It's just more or less about the fit that kind of drops them a little bit.
Somebody's got to step up in playmaking. Somebody of those 3. Like
somebody has
they're
to
not
step
good
up.
enough there.
Who do you think it is? Is it It has to be Tatum, right? Like he's that guy.
He's been slightly improving there constantly, but they need a lot more. I don't know if he can go much more than what he is playmaking. I mean, he seems to be just focused on shooting and scoring in the offseason. But, I mean, playmaking is really tough to also work on in the offseason. But I do think Brown and Kristaps can only go up. So if one of them takes some sort of leap, and I hope there's a leap in Jaylen Brown with that much money on the table. So
you hope.
There's a world it doesn't. I mean, he doesn't need to. He's set. He could just retire. Shit. I'm faking injuries.
Literally.
Faking injuries. No, I think he wants to win a title. I think he wants to prove to others. And he's got that mentality. I think he's a dog.
Did you catch that clip from Tatum? I think he was at like his basketball camp. He's talking to
No, it was great.
I love that. I love that quote. It was about basically, load management, not wanting to miss a game in the middle of the week against Charlotte.
He ain't a bitch.
You have fans. Yeah, exactly. He ain't no bitch. Like that is the epitome of everything he discussed there. And I love that from an NBA, a top 10, top 5-ish player. And Jason Tatum, I love to hear that type of stuff from him.
No, I've always been higher on Tatum because I do think he's a killer and a dog. No matter he lives and dies with the results, but he's gonna go out swinging. He's throwing up those 20 shot attempts, even if he makes 3 or 4 of them. Like
you watched it against Philadelphia specifically. That is Jason Tatum. Goes through a drought throughout the first part of the series. Game 7 drops 51 on their heads. So. He does have the killer instinct in him. I think it gets discussed a lot whether or not he doesn't, just because of the struggles against the Heat and then obviously the struggles against the Warriors the season before. But I love him. How do you feel about is his ceiling best player in the NBA? Like, do you feel that way about Jason Tatum, or is he kind of capped out on where he can get to?
I think he can get to 2 or 3, but for me, he's got the two-way ability to get to 1 to overshadow his passing and playmaking flaws. Yes, Giannis and him are pretty. I don't know how to say this. Not the smartest players. Okay, neither one of them are the smartest players.
Yeah.
For them to be in the top 5, top 3 conversation, they're really damn good. And they're two-way players. I think Tatum should be up for an all-NBA defensive selection at some point. I think he's been that good. These teams aren't just anchored by 40 games played of Robert Williams. Come on.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart throwing out 68 games or whatever he does. Tatum has to guard a lot of great players, and he does. And he does a great job. He tries hard on that end. But it's coming down to passing and playmaking for Tatum because I'm not necessarily worried about the turnovers. Yes, that's what I'm referring to when it comes to intelligence, but still can make mistakes, and he just can make better better plays and to overshadow some of those mistakes. So that's where I see Tatum cracking in there if he wants. I know he wants to,
Can
but
yeah,
I
not
don't
something you
know. The
develop overnight.
competition is just too good right now with
Yeah,
Giannis and Jokic,
yeah.
and I
Would you put Luka on the same plane as Jason Tatum? Or
yeah, but like Luka's got he's there offensively, just and intelligence wise, it's just
yeah,
defense. He doesn't have anything to touch Giannis with
yeah,
defensively, and Jokic is a good defender. I
yeah,
truly believe this.
and
So it's like,
top tier offensive
yeah,
player. If he's not the same as Luka on the
it's
offensive side of
really,
things,
really, 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 really hard to be the best
yeah,
player in the NBA if you're not a positive, average to above average defender. Like
yeah,
Harden was at his peak. He was in the argument for best player in the league
yeah,
for a second there for a year or two.
yeah,
The year he averaged 36, and he
yeah,
did in the playoffs too. Like he led the NBA in steals and deflections,
yeah.
and like that shit
That's
matters.
part
I
of it.
mean, it
Yeah,
leads to the rest of the team, and they were a pretty solid defense, top 12, I think even got into top 7 at times. So that's where Luka, he's got to follow the Harden blueprint there
yeah.
of just
Use that
moving
IQ.
it around a little bit,
Yeah, passing
and learning
lanes.
how to use your chest and
Yeah,
lower half of your body. But
because
uh,
Harden is a great. He's a
oh,
great physical defender,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like when he can play you
very good.
physical, get away with some things. Guards people in the post
Well,
very well. He can guard up in a sense. It's just those quicker guards that fly by him. That's the problem. But that's just some players don't have quick enough feet for
Right.
that. That's just part of the game. But who do you got at number 3, man?
So 3, I had Milwaukee,
Oh,
and
okay.
then
So we already
yeah,
went through them.
2. This is where it's super tough for me between those two teams. I ended up putting the champions at 2, but it's their depth for me.
Yeah,
It's
that's part of it, right?
you know,
Who did you pick for the 3 for the champions? I'm curious. I
yeah.
think
So
you would agree with me,
I had
but
Phoenix at number 1. So I went Denver 2, Phoenix 1. But for the 3 players, Jokic, Murray for sure, but
yeah.
I went MPJ over Gordon just because of
Okay.
his defense in the playoffs. Just because of his defense in the playoffs, even though his offense wasn't great at times, and Aaron Gordon's offense. So I could
Yeah.
accept Aaron Gordon over MPJ as that 3rd. I
Yeah.
really
So
could.
I actually have the Nuggets at number 2 as well. I have Phoenix Suns at number 1 as well. So we agree on both of them. I did have Aaron Gordon in the big 3 for the Nuggets versus MPJ. But I will say this, even if I slid MPJ into the 3rd spot, they would still be number 2. So
Mm.
you can switch them out either way, and they would probably be in the same spot. I view them in the same bucket in a sense. I just love the way Gordon complements Jokic and Murray on the defensive end, the slashing. And I thought he had a great playoffs as well. But you could put either one in there, in my
So if
opinion.
the people vote Aaron Gordon at 54 and Michael Porter Jr. at 58, I probably would flip
Interesting.
them personally, but
Yeah,
I mean it's so close between those two guys. I just also give the edge to Michael Porter Jr. with his ceiling when he's at his best is
that's fair.
definitely a better player, and
That's fair.
I only see MPJ going up. I don't see Aaron Gordon getting much higher than 54. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well. So when you look at the number 1 and number 2, because I'm with you. I contemplated hard on putting the Nuggets at number 1 just because of chemistry, fit. You look at the Phoenix Suns, they obviously have the most talent within the 3 players, I feel, right? The
Yep.
trio. You look at KD, he was number 7 on the rankings, D-Book number 9, Bradley Beal number 42, which Bradley Beal has some room that he could, move up that list if he fits in well with these guys. He has the talent. He's a 23 plus point game scorer. He's obviously averaged 30 points per game twice in his career. But what was the deciding factor for you when it came to putting them over the Denver Nuggets per se, the championship team?
Yeah, so now that I think about it,
Because the other pieces though in the Nugget, like that was part of it for
this
me.
whole time, dude, I've
I
been
thought about Michael Porter Jr. I thought about Bruce Brown, their contributions, KCP, like the perfect fits around that Denver Nuggets team.
Dude, they're a team. The Nuggets are a team. There's no way denying it. It's a lot where the Suns, I truly believe, are just a trio. I mean, they went all in. I mean, yes, you can say they're a quad, or however you want to say, a 4 with Ayton. But yeah, I'm not. I've keep going backwards on Ayton, but I mean, he's not a bad player. I mean,
where did he come in on your rankings? I'm curious.
Was he like 70s? I bet 60s.
Pull up here. Yeah, 74 actually. So he dropped 34 spots last season, or going into.
Jesus, that's a hell of a drop from that guy.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is I kind of contradicted myself because everything else I made about at the moment and injuries, I should really switch these two. Nuggets should be 1 yet, but at the same time, Booker was very good. He's a top 7 player in my estimation. You could argue maybe even 6 or so, but KD, I mean, the ceiling's there. He showed plenty of signs, and then Beal is what he is. He's a star, but it wasn't last year. So, I mean, I definitely factored into how I see these guys this year as well with that final punch. But no, I mean, both these teams should finish the year right here. The Suns, though, are your stereotypical trio. Like I'd say them and the Celtics are for sure like your most polished trios. Where I wouldn't even put the Warriors in that instance.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree with you there. I think the way I looked at it, KD, D-Book, Bradley Beal versus Jokic, Murray, Gordon, or Jokic, Murray, MPJ, the 3 on the Phoenix Suns are going to be accountable to do more, right? When you add all 3 of their contributions together next season versus these 3 players that you select from the Nuggets, the 3 contributions from the Phoenix Suns. Oh, hey there. The 3 contributions from the Phoenix Suns, I believe, are going to be larger. Hey, what's up, man?
Little bow man.
He's ready for some time with daddy. It's funny because here we are, eclipse the hour mark again, my friend. But nonetheless, we got through the list. This might be one of our shortest episodes that we've had together, honestly.
Hey,
an hour and 7 minutes. Nonetheless, I'm going to let you get out of here, my friend. That is going to be it for this episode of Scotty Talks NBA featuring my good buddy, Zach Noble. You can find him on Twitter at Zach Noble. You can find myself at Scotty Drown, and you can find us back here 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Scotty Talks NBA YouTube channel next Tuesday. Please enjoy the episode. Leave some comments on your thoughts on the top 10 trios. We had a ton of fun with this, but that's going to be it for this episode of Scotty Talks, everybody. Have a great rest of your evenings, and